Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to another episode of Costa Rica Real Estate and Investments with me, your host, Richard Bexon. Today is episode 84, and we have a very special guest today. We have David Konwiser. David, I've known for, maybe 15 years. He's the architect and co-owner and head of PR for two of Costa Rica's most successful luxury vacation rentals in Manuel Antonio, called Punto de Vista and La Isla. Anybody that's been to that area probably knows them. Absolutely beautiful. They come with a full staff, stunning ocean views. And I remember actually when they were building it and seeing his genius with regards to his design and also his architecture of the place. And I think it's really paid off, especially over the past couple of years, as the place, I think it's probably about 90% occupied throughout the year. I think it's probably one of Costa Rica's most successful luxury rentals. So we're going to be discussing design, architecture, and also how to maximize vacation rental income with him. Remember, guys, if you need anything from me or want any advice or just some general direction, you can contact me on info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. But let's get straight into it. Good afternoon, David. How are you doing?
Good to see you there, Richard.
Good to see you too. It's been a while, but it's an absolute pleasure, and it's been great to see from afar the success that you guys have had with over there in Manuel Antonio with Punto de Vista and also via La Isla, your new property out there as well. And I know that we'll get into the particulars of that, but thanks very much for coming on the podcast.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure to spend some time with you and talk turkey.
Exactly. Well, David, I mean, you've been in the luxury market for many, many years now. But I always like to ask people kind of what has really surprised them and what trends are they seeing?
Well, obviously COVID was, has shaken things up quite a bit. Obviously that's bringing people to want to not be together with other people they don't know, not want to be with strangers. I think I mean, of course, now that the pandemic is easing and people are more comfortable to travel again, they do just want to get out of Dodge, and they'll do it any way they can, and they'll stay in hotels and they'll stay in private villas and so forth. But I think that it has called more attention to the safety and security of traveling with those you trust, with your own family or friends, and maybe it's in the case of people who are a group that they can say, well, everyone's vaccinated or whatever. You know what I mean? A group they can trust. That's the bottom line.
Yep.
So our villa has always been under that model, that business model of traveling only with your people, because we're not a hotel where we're renting rooms to different people and so forth. So people have wanted to travel on their own. It's always been a luxury thing to travel on your own, but now it's not just a luxury. It's almost like a health necessity.
Yeah, it is. Degree, it is. It's like going to the gym. Like you need it. So
I think that our business model, works well with pandemic and even post-pandemic thinking.
Yeah. Have you seen any change in the clients arriving that you guys have at the property, or is it still the same as before? Have you seen any difference there?
The same, whether it's the same type of client post-pandemic versus pre-pandemic?
Yeah. Like the makeup, it was families before, it's still families now, or it was couples before, now it's has there been any change there?
I can't really say that I've seen a big change there. I think the clients are becoming more and more discerning because they really want that security and that privacy. We're getting more corporate retreats in recent.
Yeah,
that could also be because of the master marketing of my brother Christian, that you know well.
I love that we've given Christian a shout out here.
I love that too, and he deserves it.
He does. He's done a great job. I mean, have you seen anything different with regards to how booking windows? Has it got shorter? Has it got larger? A lot of last minute stuff. But I mean, I suppose it's difficult with you guys because, I mean, looking at your occupancy, I mean, you guys must be up in the 80-90%, no?
Yes, we're very highly occupied. Yes, that is correct. That is correct. And that has taken years to achieve. I mean, we were not in those occupancies in the first years by any means. But again, great marketing and more importantly, really, really good stays. I mean, look at our TripAdvisor reviews. I think we have close to 300 and they're all 5-star. And why is that? It's not because the world is a perfect place at Villa Punto de Vista, because guess what? It's still reality where things happen. Yeah, right.
Yep.
Am I allowed to use profanity in this podcast about shit happening? Am
I actually, yeah, shit happens. I mean, don't worry. I'll just take the thing that there's profanity in this one. So,
okay,
yeah.
I'm not sure who did it. You did it. Okay.
No, don't worry. Yeah.
So right, an air conditioner goes out,
Yep.
or some other, maybe a transport was supposed to leave at the airport and they didn't have a name written down. Right, things happen, right?
They do.
But it's how you deal with adversity and how you treat your client that makes all the difference. And if ever we have an adverse situation, we treat our client with the utmost respect and compensation where compensation is due. We do what we need to do to make sure that our clients feel they were treated right. And there hasn't been a client that's ever left our building that doesn't feel they were treated with the utmost respect. And that is really one of the keys to our success.
I agree. I wish more enterprises were like that in Costa Rica, that instead of chasing dollars, that they realize that taking care of the client, that the dollars will come at some point in the future. But like, I remember when you guys were building Punto de Vista, I actually stayed, I think, in the guest house. Was it there on the left? Like when you come in there, when you guys were building it once, did you think that it would be as successful as it's become? And why do you think it's become so successful?
I didn't. First of all, you should understand that when we were building Villa Punto de Vista, we never dreamed in a million years we were going to be operating Villa Punto de Vista. I didn't think of myself as a hotelier or a villa rental guy. I mean, the things that my brother and I do now, didn't even dream that we were going to be doing. Our plan was build the building, find a management company to operate it, and on to the next thing. and
how many years ago was that?
11 years.
Wow.
So and I guess it's fortunate in a way that things didn't go that way, because it's made all the difference. When we completed the villa, we did look at that opportunity, those options. We spoke to everything from like Cayuga, that owns Brenes del Mar and all those other nice properties. We talked to Enjoy Group. We talked to various entities, investment groups, to step in and do that management. And they either really weren't interested in doing such a thing because they knew it'd be too big a pain in the butt, which it is, by the way, or they weren't willing to pay us what we thought we were, entitled to after spending, so much money on the project. So we just took it on ourselves.
For you
there
guys,
you go. The rest is history.
Well, I mean, it's definitely I think it's a labor of love, but I think it's really paid off. I mean, it's having run, we have Via Buena Onda. We were very much in similar, shoes there as well. But sometimes, I mean, I think as you said it there, if you want it done right, do it yourself. But you learn so much as well. I mean, it's just, there are a lot of people that I speak to that are looking to run luxury vacation rentals or buy hotels here and run them. That until you get in it, you really don't understand what you're getting yourself into. I mean, it's a chainsaw juggling act, from the operation to the PR to the marketing to the sales, to the customer service. I mean, it's a lot of moving parts.
Oh yeah. Absolutely, 100%.
But I mean, and it can take years, but then once it does work, it really does work. Once you've got things moving, it can move like a very well-oiled machine.
Yes, that's largely true. But my brother actually handles the operations. I'm kind of more in charge of the sales. So and it is they both have their challenges still. Even in a hot market like now, when sales are still happening. There's lulls. There's moments of you get 3 sales a day, and other times you don't see a sale for a few weeks. I mean, you got to be ready for anything in this business, feast or famine.
Exactly. Now, I mean, you're an architect by I suppose you by trade, I suppose I would say. But I mean, how would you describe the design of Punto de Vista, and why did you choose that design, and why do you think it's going to stand the test of time?
I do love the question, because standing the test of time is what it's all about as an architect. I was, once challenged to picture a color I had never seen before, and that opened me up to what my new goal was as an architect, and that was to design a building that had never been seen before. So that's always my goal when I design a new project, is try to do something that is just, so unique that's never been seen. I even try to stay away from the internet looking at buildings of other architects. I feel like it's funny because on one hand it sort of opens your eyes to the possibilities, and on the other hand it poisons your ability to see new colors, because you can't invent if you're constantly trying to copy. So I do believe that Villa Punta de Vista is a very unique, both villas are really quite unique in their shape and their and the geometric aspect of Villa Punta Vista was largely inspired by the architect I.M. Pei. And you know the great story that it was your agency, Costa Rica Vacations, that brought I.M. Pei to us as the first overnight guest of Villa Punta de Vista. And for those listeners out there who don't know who I.M. Pei was the architect of the Louvre in Paris. That amazing triangle, that great iconic design. And that was our first overnight guest. Is extraordinary. But what's more timeless than that design of I.M. Pei's, of that triangle? And my villa is, I don't want to compare it to I.M. Pei. I'll never compare myself to I.M. Pei, but I will say that I did my very best to make something that doesn't look like anything that's ever been built before. And I think I've largely succeeded. I still haven't seen anything quite like that looks quite like Villa Punta de Vista.
I have not, not in Costa Rica or anywhere. And I know, I mean, it's very unique, but it's also, I mean, it's beautiful. It's in a great setting. And I think you designed it with function as well, meaning that, like, while it's a home, it also works as kind of, the back of the house does not cross the front of the house kind of orientated stuff as well, which I think is really important. I was discussing on a previous podcast about that. If you're going to operate as a venue or a full service vacation rental, you need to have that separation.
Absolutely. They say form follows function, or form and function are one. I mean, there is no question. I think Frank Lloyd Wright coined that, and that is so true. And key to our success, I think, has been trying to put that function as you're not just designing art. Art isn't enough. It isn't. A beautiful, a terrace with a beautiful view isn't enough. It's got to have all those functional, requirements met, particularly for an event. I mean, my God, there's so many moving parts in an event, or just delivering, serving a large group. You got to have enough, toilets, and we have his and hers, restrooms and so forth. I mean, we have a lot of amenities that and a lot of separation of service and residents and guests that really make people feel comfortable and make sure that everyone gets served appropriately, quickly, efficiently. I think we've thought through those details.
David, what percentage of your business would you say is like events, and what percentage would you say is actually kind of vacation rentals? Just roughly.
I would say, because we've established ourselves with a great reputation for these destination weddings, I would say destination weddings is easily maybe 60% of our business, easily.
Yeah.
And then another 10% also events of different kinds. I mean, maybe even another 20%. That would be, generational birthdays. Yep. 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. I think we've done up to 80. Maybe we've done a 90. I'm not sure. We do a lot of corporate retreats of all types. We do things like corporate awards retreats. We'll do like programming retreats. Those are interesting. With a bunch of programmers drinking Mountain Dew, sitting there, coding to that beautiful view. A lot of interesting outside the box retreats where people are really forced to look outside of the box for their business. It's those types of clients that have been kind of meant the most to me, because that's really what our villa is all about. I think is really trying to bring the outside in, and trying to, and a lot of that tempered glass or no walls at all. Just trying to create that indoor outdoor experience and getting people to feel like they're in a truly liberated space. I don't want them to have anything to impede what they see as possible in life. And I think that's one reason why these retreats, these developers retreats, the out of the box retreats, the philosophy retreats, those have been really interesting to me, and they've been rewarding to our guests. The yoga retreats, yeah, real cool. That's been fun.
It's pretty unique though, and I'll say this, having had quite a bit of experience, to find a property that does so many, I would say, events or retreats, just because typically, even with ours, with Villa Buena Onda, we have more families than I would say weddings and retreats, but like, it's just interesting. Maybe it's the destination, I don't know. But it sounds like you guys have really cornered the market on that, in that aspect.
I mean, the building lends itself to that, and then we've established ourselves, with that reputation. So I think that's why it's become kind of a snowball.
Good for you guys. Good for you guys. Let's wind the clock back. If we had a time machine to go back, and like, if you were to change, a few things about Punta de Vista, what would you change and why?
There's a number of things. Even over the last decade, the desire for carbon neutral type construction and LEED certification and that sort of thing has become more of a thing, more in the forefront. We've watched global warming actually scientifically happening. There's no question we have to change the way we do things. I would have done less in the way of earth movement at the villa. I would have made some modifications in the way that the building was built. However, I still subscribe to the idea that having a small footprint is a good thing. So Villa Punta de Vista, our first villa, is vertical. It's 6 stories, so it occupies a very small footprint, which I think is, for its area, it occupies a very small footprint because it's more of like a tower. Now, I could only do a tower like that on our site because it's such a sloping site. I mean, imagine if it was a flat site, then you just have a big tower eyesore. But of course, it's not that way because it sort of integrates in with the earth. When you have a very highly sloping site, a taller building is not interpreted as being so tall. So that's why that's where, to some degree, it subscribes to Frank Lloyd Wright's of the hill, not on the hill concept of architecture. But there was a lot of earth movement that I would have changed. I would have done that differently. From a functioning maintenance standpoint, I would have done a number of things differently. Things that we realized over time, like air infiltration. I mean, using the tempered glass that we did on everything, not having the frames. Like our new villa has all PVC, double pane glass. PVC frame, double pane glass, keeping in that air conditioning. Our original the villa doesn't have that, so it's more wasteful in that respect. We've had to work really hard to insulate the rooms. It's just something that's I would have done the window system all different. In fact, that is a future endeavor of ours, is to change all the windows at the villa. So that's something we're going to do. Other things too, the way our air conditioning system was designed originally, not using mini splits originally, that was a disaster. We had to change them all out for mini splits.
I've just done that as well. We've been doing that over the years.
Yeah, well, because the SEER ratings are so much higher for mini splits, and you just get tons more efficiently. I mean, we dropped our energy bills something like in half just by doing that. I think more than half, because we discovered that air conditioning was something like close to 80% of our load. So that's an important one for your listeners who are interested in building in Costa Rica or anywhere that's tropical. Is, for God's sakes, insulate your building every which way you can. Use the highest efficiency inverters. It makes all the difference. Yeah.
I mean, that's great. I mean, it's just, it's funny how I would probably say 05. Well, I mean, it's always been a central AC system. It's just because, mini splits don't look as beautiful as central AC systems, but really when you look at it from a function point of view, they make perfect sense, because when one of them breaks or something goes out, you can switch them very easily and you can repair, and they're just a lot more efficient as well, because you can just turn them on and off.
Exactly. And we've done some things at the villa, some creative solutions to sort of niche in the mini
Yep.
splits into the soffits and things to even in some cases we covered it up sort of with wood in some
Yep.
clever ways to make it look almost as though a mini split's not there. So we've tried hard on that front.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I think we've done this, but I mean, what were some of the costs that you didn't foresee when building Punto de Vista?
Well, as the architect and as an artist at heart, you know, I was always striving for doing everything as right as I could, as artistic as I could, and that comes at a cost. So I think our villa was uniquely expensive because we were trying, because I'm an artist,
Yep.
and so I think most people won't, you know, aren't as hardcore as I am to do everything just
Yeah, but
right.
I think also that has a huge part to play in the success that you guys have had is that, you know, I mean, there's a lot of David in that property. Well, I mean, it's all you guys, you and your brother, you know, because again, you guys designed it. So, and I think that's a huge part of the success. And I think people see that and feel that when they go there.
Yeah, yeah. There's no doubt. But I will tell you something. You know, if I could tell you some, you know, things that your callers might, or your listeners might find interesting, to consider, is you know, obviously, and you've probably already discussed this in podcasts in the past. Costa Rica is not like the cheapest place to come and retire.
Yep.
At all. In fact, it's on the higher end of places to come and retire if you intend to live the Western lifestyle and go out to nice restaurants and shop in, you know, nice, you know, supermarkets where you feel right at home and so forth. But it's the same thing, you know, with building here. If you want to import, you know, if you want to have the latest generation, you know, TV and a sexy car and blah blah blah, you're going to pay for it. So it's expensive to realize a project of our caliber in this country.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. And I mean, I'm sure it's even impacted. I mean, it's impacted even more by being so close to the ocean and at the beach as well, because I mean, you're being attacked constantly, right?
Well, you took the words out of my mouth. I mean, you know, this is the number one thing anyone has to understand. By when you build by the beach, literally everything will break down in, you know, 3 to 5 times faster than it would anywhere else in the world. So just expect that, you know, I mean, I talk about this with my brother all the time, and he's in charge of operations, like I mentioned, you know. So, I mean, we're like constantly buying like new plasma TVs, for example. It's like, just as an example, it's just the electronics in them that just can't keep up. But it's interesting because it's actually, we've looked at buying, you know, marine grade things and blah blah blah. You want to know what? You pay so much money for that stuff. It's just cheaper to replace stuff than it is to pay 3 times more for some marine grade television. Supposedly, guess what? It's not really marine grade anyway. Maybe it'll last a little bit longer than something else, but just nothing can take that ocean air. Good God. I'll tell you, one of my favorite examples is our buggy. We used to have a Polaris Ranger 6-passenger beach buggy, which was, you know, it's in our video and stuff. It's one of the coolest things we ever bought. And I have to say it was a big hit, but I'll tell you where it was a big hit. It was a big hit in the pocketbook. That's where it was a big hit.
Wow.
I mean, there was no way to keep that thing from breaking down, from corroding. It's just impossible. So some things are cool, but good God, you've got to be smart in your purchasing of product when you're by the beach.
Yeah, and I think you just, you know, I always say to people is, if you don't know what you're doing, speak to someone, get an advisor here, someone that's done it before, and speak to people before jumping in the deep end. Because again, I mean, we've all done it. We've all made mistakes, but speak to people that have made the mistakes so that you can learn from their mistakes.
Yeah, that's it. So everyone who's listening, don't buy a Polaris Ranger if you're by the beach, unless you're loaded and you're ready to buy a new one every, you know, 3 years.
Yep. Well, my last question for you, David, is I'm cognizant of your time, but if you inherited $500,000, it's the last question I love to ask everyone, and had to invest it into a business or real estate in Costa Rica, what would you invest it in and why?
Oh my God, is this the $500,000 question? I thought it was like the
Yes.
$1 million question.
No, I've only got up to $500,000 at the moment, not to $1 million.
It's like trading places, the $1 bet. Okay, I get it. Listen, Costa Rica is a great place to invest. I believe in Costa Rica. You just look at the turmoil going on around the world. I mean, of course, all eyes have been on the United States in recent with political, upheaval and the election in 2020 and all this nonsense. And then you've got, but look at what's going on in Europe right now. I mean,
Yep.
with Ukraine and everything like that. I mean, Costa Rica is just looking better and better every minute.
The country where nothing happens.
Don't we love it? Don't we just love that? So I still believe in Costa Rica. I mean, we are receiving a large volume of inquiries. We're still doing good business here. So I think it's a country you can believe in to invest in. Doing a biz, I don't. Well, not only do I not want every one of your podcasters to copy my business model, but guess what? You don't want to, because it's really, 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 really hard to do.
It's a lot of work. Yes.
It's really, really, really hard to do what we do. And it's taken us a very long time to where we can generate some returns. And it remains a struggle to do what we do. So I wouldn't recommend but it's not just because I don't want people to copy our model. It's more because I don't think it's what most people should be doing with their lives. Most people actually want to invest their money and actually still enjoy their lives and not have to be tied to their business the way I am. Yep. I can't say, I mean, I enjoy my business because I'm the architect of my villa, and I'm selling experiences in my architecture. I feel like I'm in like an art gallery, and yep. I show my art pieces and I sell my art pieces. That's kind of like, yep. That's what I do. That's how I equate what I do to my sales job and as an architect. But not everybody's in that position. So I think that buying a nice condo that's already built, and if you're clever about it, and I think you put your ear to the ground and talk to the right people. I think there are some sure bets in Costa Rica, areas like, Tamarindo, which my brother swears by, and others are really happening. I mean, I've got a friend who did an investment in Osara that went amazingly well for him. I mean, I think he tripled his money on that. There's some good investments that you can make here in Costa Rica, investing in either new construction or, I mean, new construction is where you're going to triple your money. You won't triple your money on buying something built.
I agree.
But new construction is also very painful. Not as painful as what I've done in doing new construction and then operating it with a huge staff. Yep. I mean, you'd have to be crazy, right?
Wow. Well, David, this has been an amazing podcast, really informative. I'm sure that everyone listening to this thanks you for your time and also passing on some of that knowledge. But I will put all your contact details in the description, David, for Punto de Vista and Isla as well. But just want to say thanks again for taking the time to jump on the podcast.
It was a pleasure to speak to you, Richard. And congratulations on your your new life, kind of doing different things as well. Change is good, as they say. I'm happy for you.
Thank you very much, sir. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Well, we had the pleasure there of having David. It's not very often that you have a architect, the actual kind of designer and actual builder of the villa and operator and head of sales and PR all in one. So, I mean, just that information was invaluable to anybody looking to develop a luxury vacation rental or really a vacation rental here in Costa Rica, is that there are a lot of things to consider when building it, and also thinking about exit plan as well. We didn't discuss a lot about that, but a lot of people think, they think about the entrance, but they don't think about the exit. So, you've got to really think about these things when you develop something here in Costa Rica, because again, at some point you will exit it, and the exit is not always as easy as it is down here as it is in the US. So, but anyway, all the details there for Punto de Vista. If you just type in Punto de Vista, You'll find it there in Manuel Antonio. It's a very well-known property. Those guys do an amazing job. Remember, guys, if anybody wants to reach out for me for any help at all, you can contact me, info@investingcostarica.com, info@investingcostarica.com. I appreciate all the support that everyone's given. I'm still trying to figure out what we're going to do for the 100th episode here. Again, it needs to kind of shoot for the stars for the person, but it also needs to be somewhat attainable as well. Someone was like the president of Costa Rica. I'm just like, I'm not too sure the Costa Rican president wants to come on this, but hey, you never know. We might as well ask. So, but anyway, till next time, guys, I'll speak to you soon.